think I'm on. All right, everybody. Whoever's here right now, I want to thank you for showing up. We're gonna wait a couple minutes and let everybody come on in to get all this information. So give us a few minutes, and I'll hop back on, and we'll start the presentation. Let's see. Oh, here. Perfect. All right. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me. So if everybody can we can hear you, I'd appreciate it. All right. Perfect. All right. Let me pull the presentation up. Hope everybody's having a great day so far. Let me share my screen. Is my video going out? Let's see. Let's see. Okay, good now. Perfect. What? Perfect. Can everybody see the presentation? Thank you, Marlena. All right. Perfect. All right. All right. Thank you guys for joining me today for our new construction blueprint. Today we're going to learn about the pros and cons of buying new construction, how we negotiate incentives, why it's great to buy new construction, and new construction versus resale, and some of the things that are beneficial to you before you walk into a new construction community's door. All right. So, new construction is really in demand at the moment. We've seen a surge of homes come on the market. We saw a lot of low inventory last year, which has become a big topic with with buyers at the moment because we are seeing a low inventory issue. But new construction usually helps with that. We've seen an 18% jump in new construction on the market. So it's leading to buyers having some different ways and colorful ways in order to buy homes that maybe they didn't consider before. A lot of people maybe had some different options last year when buying, where now new construction is now being considered, being that we have anything from a condo to a townhome to a single family home being built that they can now take advantage of. And also, a big reason that new construction is also desirable is because of the modern feel of the property. Resale, sometimes we can see homes that look like our mother and father's home and not us and doesn't speak to us. So we're seeing a lot more modern homes being built with new construction. Open floor plans, new styled flooring, anything from that to the exterior, which is important because we're seeing a lot of older homes have that exterior where we kind of know it's an older home. So people are definitely invested in modern homes, and that's where new construction kind of fills that void. All right. So why buyers love new construction? So as I said before, modern design, low maintenance. So when we buy a new home, you get a new HVAC, new kitchen, new appliances, new roof, new foundation. So a lot of times where buyers are scared and nervous about that maintenance with being a first-time buyer, new construction comes in and saves that day. You have a brand new property with warranties included, lowering your upkeep cost, which helps with that maintenance fear that a lot of first-time buyers have. Incentives. I know a lot of us have seen them. If not, a lot of builders have incentives, whether it be buy downs on the interest rate. They have incentives for closing costs. Sometimes they have design studio payments and flex pay. So they have what they call flex cash. They may be giving you $40,000 and saying, hey, you can use this to buy down the rate if that's important to you, your closing costs if that's important to you, or you can buy down the rate. So there are a lot of creative ways they're giving people cash in this time where people are a little bit buyers are a little bit nervous right now in this season, so they're giving you a lot of different plays on how to make this comfortable for you. And customization, that's a big one too. A lot of times we walk into resales and we see a lot of different things we would have done to the property, structurally, aesthetically, cosmetically, and new builds give you that option to build up a home just how you would like it for you and your family. So these are some of the benefits of buying new construction and why it's become a big, heavy demand in Prince George's, Montgomery County, DC, and Virginia. Oh, let's not skip that. Oh, there we go. So there are three types of homes that I want to discuss with you all. So we have the single family home. So this maximizes the privacy of the home, the space, backyard, a lot more bedrooms depending on the type of single family home we're looking at. No responsibility of shared walls, keeping that noise down sometimes with a single family home. a lot more space to entertain. So a lot of times families or growing families decide that a single family home makes more sense for them. Now, a townhome is going to be a property that you share those walls. And so there may be a little discomfort in that way, but for some people, they're okay with it. And so you may have a home and it still be the size of a single family home. There are some beautiful luxury properties that are 3,000, almost 4,000 square feet. But it's just that you're sharing a wall and there's less responsibility and maintenance, no yard sometimes, depending on that townhome, and also lower fees when dealing with different situations or maintenance. So sometimes people want the single family, but want less maintenance. So the townhome works perfect. Next, we have condos, which is going to be the lower of the maintenance. A condo, you won't have much maintenance at all because the structure of that building is handled by the condo association. And you generally have some pools, maybe a gym. You have some benefits there with the amenities. It can be a bit pricier on the condo fee, but you have the luxury of not dealing with any maintenance generally. So I have a quick question because I do want to know, of course, I can't speak to everybody. So I have a poll for you to take to answer which one of these properties work best for you all. All right, so I'm going to shoot that poll out. Give me a moment. Should be launched. All right. And as that poll plays, I am going to play a quick video of one of the new constructions that I have seen. Has everybody voted yet? All right. Well, so far, townhomes is in the lead. Oh, never mind. Single families have come down and taken over. Okay. Good to know. All right. So now that I know the style home you want, what options do you have with new construction? So there is what we call a spec home and a custom build. So a spec home is going to be a property when you drive through a new build development and you'll see sold, 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 and you'll see an available sign in the window. Now that available signs mean that that builder has put that property together and they have went ahead and decided what type of cabinets, what type of layout, if we're going to do that extension, all of that has already been put into that property. Now that's a faster move-in time, so that's good for some. Some may have some time to spare, so they don't mind the custom build. But this is going to be a home that you can generally close from 30 to 60 days depending on where they are. Now just because it's not fully built does not mean it's not a spec home. Sometimes even pre-drywall or if they've already started framing, that home is still considered a spec home because they've decided to make some structural decisions that of course have to already be approved as they build that home. So with that, I will say with spec homes, you do have a little bit more negotiation power because they do not want to see that home sit days on market with nobody in it, making it their home. So specs homes I've found have been a great negotiation spot for a lot of different buyers. Now, custom builds are what we're building from ground up. We may go to that lot and it is dirt and it just says available. So we're going to build that house up from slab. We're going to go to a design studio. We're going to pick out cabinetry, countertops, the layout. If we're going to do that extension, add that deck. All of that will be decided in that design studio. And something to note, as we pick all those options, there will be a price for them. Sometimes with spec homes, they've made those decisions for you and we can negotiate and get a better deal. But sometimes with custom builds, because we are making that home personalized for you, they may stick a little bit closer to that price point that we land at. But you do have complete design control. It is a longer construction time. I say anywhere from 6 to 8 months, depending on what we're building. And you, of course, have the personalization of making that home yours. So these are the two options we generally have when we go to a new build. New build versus resale. Now, in some instances, I have had clients where we go and we see new construction and we find that resale makes more sense for them for a number of reasons. Now, one of the reasons can be upfront costs. With new builds, we're going to see an earnest money deposit, which is your good faith funds that you're going to purchase this house, be a bit higher than resale. So new construction can be anywhere from about $15,000 to all the way $25,000. And then this is your earnest money. You put that down. It's going to be subtracted from what you owe at close. With resale, that can be anywhere from 1% to 3%. So I've seen anything as low as $500 and up from there. So that upfront cost can be a bit more. And also the upfront cost of the home you're looking at. When you see that sign and it says starting at $400, that's literally what they mean, starting. So once we get in there and we go to that design studio or we pick that certain lot, that price may start to trickle on up. Where a resale, that price that you see from the moment you step into it is the price that they want for that house. So something to note about resale versus new construction. Your monthly payment also can range, but with new construction and them having so much funds to put across the nation buying down rates, they can sometimes have a lower monthly cost than a resale, even though that resale might be a little lower in the cost, in the purchase price cost, because they get to buy down your rate to a 499 or a 475 or whatever they're at the moment is purchased down lower than the market interest rate. Maintenance, of course, we know is going to be low with the new sale compared to a resale. There are developments that can take place as well with new construction. You see somewhere like Westphalia or South Lake that are, well, Westphalia is still working on their town center, but South Lake we see, has a development that they've built. So things like that can be desirable, where somebody else might want a more established area that they see has already got the grocery store, got the restaurants, and all of that established, and they may favor that area for that reason. So there are a number of reasons that new build may make more sense or resale may make more sense for each individual or family. So just something to think about when you are going to those new construction sites and you are looking, just, definitely compare the two. They definitely have different benefits. We just want to make sure they align with you. Builders are not on your side. So I tell people all the time, whether I'm going to be their agent or maybe we just had a quick moment, quick chat at a bar, always advise somebody that you have an agent when you walk into new construction. The moment you go in and you fill out that little document saying, hey, I came by, it'll have some simple questions on it. Hey, are you buying in the next few months, maybe a year from now? Just simple questions, but they'll always ask, do you have an agent? It is so important to let them know yes. And while maybe at the moment you don't know who it'll be, it's so important because once you sign those documents saying, hey, I'm going to buy lot 79, this is the house I'm building on it. Once something may occur where you want to bring in somebody, once you have solidified that you are representing yourself in court, that is who they are going with. So there will be no discussion of bringing anybody in at that point. So it's always important to let them know you do have agency. Strategy. So in new construction, while I say strategy is very important because you want to understand your buying power before you go into the property, because that starting number I mentioned earlier can waste your time and we can miss out on some opportunities. Because you want to be able to know what exactly you're looking for. And that's when you have somebody as an agent, they know what those true numbers will look like at that community. So you don't spend time in communities that by the time you sit down and you go to that design studio, you end up at a number that is not feasible for you. Or with surprises down the line that you may not know are there for you financially. So you want to make sure that you are protected in that way with an agent. So always have independent representation. And the thing about it, a lot of people don't know when they go into new builds is that they are willing to pay that representation. Generally, most of the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia new builds already have wrapped in it, hey, we'll pay your agent. We are paying for you to have protection and to have somebody come in and have a fiduciary duty to you to make sure that this works out best in your best for you. But a lot of times people don't realize that. They go in, they feel like, oh, an agent might be pricey, it's already looking pricey, buying new, and they avoid it or either just don't know that they already are doing what we call cooperative compensation. So it's so important to know this going into it, to say you have agency, work with an agent to really negotiate your best deal, because so many times it's not really at a cost to you at that point. And you get a better bang for your buck, you get a better circumstance buying. So always go in and say you have an agent and go in with a strategy. And the cost of a mistake. I have seen so many individuals after the fact tell me they bought a spec home. And the first thing I say to them is, so what did you negotiate down on it? Was it 10K, 15K, 20K? What did you negotiate? And a lot of times they look back at me and I'm sure you can guess what they say. Nothing. So many times people go into those offices and they don't understand that that person represents the seller, they represent the builder. No different than going into a courthouse. If I'm going in with my client and coming out with my client. When you go look at those model homes, those people sit behind a desk and you come in, they show you the home, they say, have a great day, and they close the door and they walk back to their desk because that is who they represent. And so many people mistake the fact that that person is there representing them, and that is not the case. So you want to make sure to have agency and make sure that you have somebody that is going to represent you to the best ability in your financial and also in your housing, because there's so many things that I'll explain later that they won't tell you. And I've seen some very interesting things happen in new construction. All right. So, bidders are not on your side. So I think I did this one. Is it here twice? It is. Okay. So what you give up? Not having somebody protecting you. Transparency. So I have seen instances where people have purchased a home. They go into that model home. They say, hey, I'm going to buy the Jenkins model. I love this model. I say, perfect. We're going to put you on lot 52. You like this lot? Great. I love the fact there's nobody behind me. They give all these pros about that certain lot. And that sales associate won't tell them that, hey, there's a phase 2 coming and there's going to be a townhome right across from you. Or they don't tell you that that's a high visibility zone. So per county laws and per what the county has come to agree with that builder, they have to add an extra window downstairs. They have to pull the electric a different way. And so that wall that you thought, hey, I'm going to have this great entertainment area on, I'm going to mount my TV there. You get to your pre-drywall inspection and you're like, why is this window here? And why is this fuse box here? And this is something they just kind of did not mention. So you want to make sure to have somebody that's very thorough about going through that contract, examining that layout that is specific to your lot, examining the road, asking about the upcoming phases to know if there's going to be a house behind you possibly, or if there'll be a street behind you, any of those things. So it's so important to ask about the phases and to make sure you're looking through that document to ensure that the home is going to be what you would like it to be and what you expect it to be. And if you have any questions while I'm going through this, do drop them while I'm chatting. I can see them. So do any questions you have, definitely drop them. Negotiation power. So a lot of times you give that up, as I mentioned earlier, because a lot of people don't know they have negotiation power when they walk into a new build. They don't know that the pricing is negotiable, that the closing cost is negotiable. They don't know that the... well, those are two big ones. But also the interest rate is negotiable depending on the lender. So sometimes we go in and because you can afford it, they say, hey, just go ahead, move forward. And you're excited, you're ecstatic, not realizing how much thousands are left on the table that you could have utilized, that you could have saved. So you definitely give that up when you go in and you don't have agency or you don't know that these things are actually negotiable. Now, timeline control, that's something you're going to give up anyway. Now, with tariffs and all these interesting things happen, that will come up. I'll never forget, I was in a new build and I sat there with a client, and another young lady walked in and she complained to the new build about how she wanted their property now because she is stuck in a contract with her builder at another community. So, something to note, they do put in a 2-year clause. So, they generally have about 2 years to build your house. So, they might tell you, hey, we'll be done in 6 months. But what a lot of people experienced during the pandemic was lumber was not coming over the way it was intended to and expected to. So, a lot of individuals were caught up in that 2-year clause, having to just wait, figure things out. So, do note that that clause is there. But that timeline is something that you do give up with a new build because you don't know when exactly all of that is being done. Now, I always do drive-bys by my new builds to make sure that they are coming on a timely fashion, that the drywall's been put in. That makes sense to us closing next month. Okay, the framing is being done. Okay, that makes sense to us closing in the next 3 to 4 months. So you want somebody who understands new builds in order to check in and make sure that everything is happening on time. But that timeline, of course, is still out of our control with a new build. So just something to note. So if you're staying with somebody, or if you are month to month, or you want to make arrangements strategically, because that timeline can be a little funny depending on the circumstances, do that. And if not, we may want to go to a spec home or something that's a little bit more immediate. Budget clarity. So, and certainty. Both of these. With new builds, a lot of times there are hidden fees that people are unaware of. Anything from a front fee to a capital contribution, to fees that sometimes people don't realize they're going to pay for the type of home they want. When we walk in those model homes, that starting of $400 really is a $550 if you want that model home. So sometimes once you sit down and you start doing those numbers, you realize that that home might be out of range or priced out where you didn't exactly want to be. So just some surprises that can come with new builds. I've heard a lot of people tell me that, hey, they didn't realize they were going to have a front fee and this bill came in the mail. We'll kind of chat about what that is later. But when you have somebody that's done new builds, they kind of go through that with you to make sure that you won't have, you lessen those surprises during the process. Oh, let me see. I do have a question. Let me go to the chat. Incentive bars, they are causing delays. So, delays. So sometimes they will not give you incentives. Now, I have had circumstances where if it's delayed out and let's say it's affecting you financially, let's say you're paying rent, sometimes I have negotiated, hey, can we give some more funds toward closing because this was an unexpected circumstance. So it differs builder by builder and circumstance. But contractually, because they have that 2-year clause, they really don't owe it to you. But I will say, when you've built up a rapport as an agent with certain builders and they see your name and you're requesting this or that, they're more willing. All right, builder incentives. All right, where the money at? All right. So these are the common financial perks: closing costs, rate buy downs, and upgrade credits. So generally a builder is going to give you what they call closing costs. And this can range in anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000. I've even seen recently $40,000. But depending on the house, that'll have to be colorfully done. They have to give some of that to something else or HOA. It's a bit much. So they're probably going to put some of that toward the design studio. But I'll continue. But closing costs incentives are generally a big perk of new builders. Do note that you do pay both sides of recordation and transfer. So where a resale, you're generally paying half of that. You're splitting that cost with the seller. With new construction, you pay that all on your own. So when they're telling you, hey, we're giving you this money, do know that along with giving you this money, we're also giving you a bill that you would not see if you were doing resale. So just something to think about. But the money still is very great because a lot of times while you are paying both sides, it is covering a substantial amount of your closing cost. And depending how you use it, whether it's for a buy down or if you have some left over, I've had clients pay off some HOA fees in advance for a year or so. So there are some interesting ways you can utilize that money. But do note that you do pay both sides, but sometimes they're giving you such a substantial amount that it does bring you tightly into not paying much at close. Now, rate buy downs. Recently, I do have a client. She is under contract. She has gotten a rate of 499. Currently, market rates are in the sixes. And I negotiated her $31,000 in closing. So at close, she's going to be getting a check back. So right now, a big incentive and perk is that they're combining both. Just last year, they weren't doing this. Same builder. They were giving you an option. You pick closing costs or you pick us to buy down your rate. Now, a lot of them are actually doing both. They are combining those closing costs and that rate buy down. So they're closing the costs you have up front and down the line with lowering that monthly cost mortgage-wise. Upgrade credits. So that $40,000 I mentioned is, I know there's a certain builder in Bowie. Right now they're doing what they call flex cash. So they're doing $40,000 and they're saying, hey, you can decide to put it toward your appliances, your finishes, your structural options when you sit down at the design studio. So their cash is a bit more flexible. You can use it for all three of these. But if they are giving you upgrade credits, sometimes those credits are not even out of pocket. They'll just say, hey, we're still giving you that $20K, but another special is $15,000 off. So that deck you wanted, we'll take care of it. So those credits sometimes are not even, they're outside of the closing costs as well. So you still get your closing, but then they'll give you some cash or some freebies on some certain upgrades, a deck, the gourmet kitchen, the oven hood, things of that nature. And just in the chat, which one of these builder incentives is most desirable for you? I'm interested to know. All right, the builder contract and timeline. So, every time I go through a builder contract, it's interesting to see the different expressions that come across my client's face because it is a builder favorite contract. Whenever we do a resale contract, while it may be a standard contract by Maryland or DC or Virginia, we get to become colorful in what we decide to put in there, or strategic in what we put in there. Where a builder contract is a builder favorite contract that they use for everybody. There isn't many addendums or additions or extra, oh, I have this circumstance. Not at all. This is what you sign and it's favorite toward me, so I hope you really want to buy this house. So do note that with a builder contract. They are less flexible, so do note that. So a lot of times in our builder contract, they have a set timeline. They have don't have flexibility when it comes to inspection. It's very, hey, if you find something, we'll fix it. That's not really an out. Where with a resale and an inspection, you generally have that right. If you find something, you have to give them the right to then fix it. So there are a lot of clauses where they are in their favor, and where a resale contract, there's a lot more flexibility, a lot more coming back to the table. Let's figure this out. With builders, I will say they're a little bit straight to it. Like, this is what was in the contract. This is what you signed. So it's so important that when we do sit down with that sales associate, we sit down and we usually do a review of the contract page by page. So we're very clear on what's in there before we sign it. This is a practice that I have implemented and it's worked out very well. It's lengthy because it's a big contract, but it's worth it so you understand page by page what you're signing. Limited contingencies. So in a resale contract, you'll see plenty of contingencies that we can put in, where with a builder contract, they have a lot more flexibility on their part to fix things, or if there's an appraisal issue, or that timeline, of course, delivering that home. Generally, in a resale contract, everybody has to perform on a certain timeline. This is a timeline where they put in a clause saying they have 2 years to build your house, and we may have been set to close in 3 months, and now we have to extend out whatever time that they've put in there because of that clause. So there's a limit in on those contingencies, but some of them are still in your favor because it is still a new home. They're still going to make sure that it's built to the best of their ability as long as we catch it, because there are some things in there while we don't have the right to maybe cancel, we do still have the right to inspect. So we still want to do a pre-drywall inspection. That's before the walls go up in their property, and even one possibly before we go to close. And anything they find, or that inspector finds, they do have to repair that. So there are some ways, and people don't know because they'll build a home and won't inspect a thing, that I do advise my clients to do because of those limited contingencies to protect you as much as we can while you're under a new build contract. So yes, so standard duration. So there's a couple months. I've explained that they can do 2 years, but there is a standard duration. I have not had anybody, luckily, in that situation where we've gone outside of what has kind of been. They usually give you a 2 month. They don't. They usually won't stick to 1 month. They'll be like, oh, May, June, July. So, but generally, I've had success with them building on time. But there are circumstances that I've seen people in where they can go outside of that. But just know that duration and timeline is you kind of release, that authority on that. You're like, hey, you got it. I'll just wait on the home to be built when it comes to new builds. And delays. So beyond lumber and just the building material, there are delays sometimes with the county. If the county has to come out, or if the electrician has to come out and give an inspection and give a certification, plumbing, that can hold up closing. I've seen it where that was kind of the reasoning behind, like, hey, we may not go to close when we are set to be because of that. So there are a lot of hands in this jar working on to making this work. So it can definitely be some delays, but generally they do get it done on time. But do know there are a lot of factors, and a lot of factors at hand that can affect the duration and, of course, going to close. Warranty. So resale, we may not see these. So this is a great benefit of a new build. So you get a 1, 2, 10 generally. Now, those numbers may differ a bit builder to builder, but there generally is 3 coverages. Now, that first one is going to be workmanship. So that's going to be the walls, nail pops, anything in that realm. That's for a year. So they will come and paint the walls if there are scuffs. They'll come take care of nail pops. That'll take place just as the home starts to settle. Those are things, anything on the floor that may come up, cosmetically, they'll take care of in that first year. The second year is going to be some of the heating, the cooling, the HVAC, the roofing, certain things in the roof, electrical, plumbing. This is not going to be structural. This is going to be more of your appliances and things of that nature in the property that they'll come if there's ever an issue. Now, I do advise with these two to have an inspector come out between you and you then have the home inspected, and then you take what you found to them. What they'll do is they won't take a actual home inspection from a home inspector, but if you say you found this and hey, this is an issue, they'll take care of it. But sometimes there are things that we won't catch that an inspector will catch. So that is something I do tell people. Once you get that pre-drywall, there usually is a package that they'll give you at a lower price if you say, hey, in a year or two, when you have that warranty come into place, we'll come and do that inspection for you. So that can be a benefit instead of buying them with different companies or not buying one or the other, just to buy them as a package. Then there's your 10-year warranty. So this is going to be for structural. This is going to be for foundation cracks. This is going to be for major roof issues beyond shingles. This is going to be for structural problems. And that's for 10 years. All right. So some myths about new construction. Higher costs. As I've explained a little bit before, sometimes with all of the incentives, they can come out and be around the same ballpark that you may have been in a higher resale because of the incentives and buy downs they have. So it's not always a higher cost to buy new construction. I think a lot of people think that it's not always the case. Cookie cutter. Now, I will say in the area, there are a lot of homes that start to look like the next. So cookie cutter can be a bit true, but there are options and different design options that can definitely make your home stand out and unique to you. There are certain builders that I will say build the same thing over and over again, but that doesn't mean we have to go and buy with them. So it's a bit of a myth, but it can stand true in some cases in some builders. Long wait time. So I've had people close in 30 days, the same time they would have closed with a resale with new construction. If that spec is there and it makes sense for them, and we can negotiate a great deal, we do not have to wait, months and months to close on a spec home, or even a home that may be in drywall with 2 or 3 months. So there's not always long wait times, and long wait times can be, relative to some. But 8 months might not be long for somebody. Somebody else is looking to, close next month. They may need a spec home. So, but I would say that's not always the case. And too complicated. New builds aren't complicated per se. When you go in with somebody who understands how they work and can explain it prior to you really getting into nitty gritty, it won't feel that complicated. But going in new and not knowing everything, it could not feel complicated because you didn't know everything. So you find out everything in the wash, which isn't fun, but it can feel complicated if some things are then surprises. So going in and having somebody make sure everything is tailored to what you're looking for, that everything's expressed from what a front fee and a capital contribution fee is, and the different incentives and how they work, what you're paying, what you're not paying, will definitely uncomplicate things, and you go in fully aware of what's going to happen. All right, what matters the most? So when you go, before we shop, period, but very important even with new construction, is knowing your long-term goals, your budget, your flexibility, and timeline. As we've discussed, sometimes those timelines can shift. So understanding your flexibility and before you start to new build shop is important. Are you under a lease where you're going to have to leave? Do you have a place to stay in between building this property? Does that work for you? Because those timelines can shift and change. So you want to know what is it entailed in that particular new build. Because like I said, new build can be 30 days, new build can be a whole year. So understanding that timeline and how flexible you are with that building process is very important. Because I've seen interesting things happen to people, luckily not many of mine, but it can happen. So you want to set yourself up knowing that things can shift and change in building a property from ground up. Budget. I do tell people ahead of time to go ahead and talk to a lender before you start home shopping. And that's in any instance, even if we're going resale, no matter what. Because in knowing the market and knowing new construction, you know the type of builders to look at, the type of builders to spend your time on, what incentives will work. And we know that before we even go out there and waste our time and you fall in love with this house and I have to tell you like, no, that $400,000 home is not really here. It's going to really be $575 once we put all those things you love in it. We know that before we go out there and you fall in love and I have to do all this therapeutic work and get you together. We know that beforehand because we know our budget. And because of this, and me knowing builders, knowing, hey, that's a custom builder. So everything in there that you saw is going to be, a sticker. It's going to be a price on it. Or, hey, this is a builder where everything you've told me that's standard for you, hey, you want those wood floors here and there, that works for you, and you want this type of kitchen. I'll know, hey, this is probably the route on the builder that we want to utilize for this budget. And so we spend less time going around shopping at things that we shouldn't be shopping for, and also making sure we're not missing out on any deals. Long-term goals. When you are looking at new builds, knowing if there's a development coming, maybe knowing, hey, I want to sell in the next 5 years and buy something else, all of these are very important because understanding what's happening with that development, if they're going to be building a shopping center, if they're not going to be building a shopping center, If it's a little further out, so maybe less desirable rent wise, if you want to hold it, if you want to hold it after the fact and move into another property, you want to know these things so we figure out, does that community and that new build community make sense for you with your long term goals and your lifestyle as well? Because we want to make sure that people sometimes fall in love with a home and they realize that was a bit too far out for me. This commute is bad, or the home size didn't make sense for my lifestyle, which is another thing I do find. People walk in the home and they love it. They're like, oh my God, it's so big. And I'm like, you didn't socialize much when you ain't have a house. When you were still renting, you ain't ever have nobody over. But you needed all these square feet. And now those square feet just see dust mites because you don't go on that fourth level you said you needed. So you want to make sure it aligns with your lifestyle, and you want to make sure it aligns with your long-term goals, because you don't want to waste thousands on a room that you will never use. And you also don't want to waste your time, your long-term goals in a property that's not going to have a return that makes sense for you. So some considerations. Beyond just the price, there are some kind of hidden things and some things that you want to think about. So lot premiums. So depending on where the property is, that lot that you pick, there are lot premiums. So sometimes you'll see that this lot is $15,000 more because you have a pond in the back, or this one is $25,000 more because you are an in-unit property. And a lot of times you don't realize that that's why the price is where it's at, because of this lot premium. So it's important to know where exactly are you in the community and what you're paying for it. Because there may be another lot that's cheaper or in a more desirable area, but maybe you don't get the middle home. I mean, you don't get the in unit anymore. You get a middle unit. But financially it makes more sense, and it maybe has something more desirable on that end of the community compared to that lot you were going to buy. So do note that there are premiums with each lot that you purchase. And sometimes not, but do note that that is a cost that can be within that spec sheet. Upgrades. You know what upgrades do you all want? Is the kitchen the upgrade, or is it more square footage? What upgrades are important to you all, would you say? You can type them in the chat. I'm interested to know what the market is saying to me. What's important right now? Is it a fourth level? Is it square footage? Is it a gourmet kitchen? What's important upgrades wise for you all? While you type those up, HOA. I'm sure we've all heard of an HOA. It has its pros and cons. With an HOA, I mentioned earlier what we call a capital contribution. So whenever you purchase in a new development, there's going to be a capital contribution. This is a fee. Generally, I've seen it range anywhere from $400 to $600. You do pay it at close, and it goes into what we call the reserve. The HOA, of course, is there to pay for the different landscaping, upkeep of the neighborhood, the community center, the rec room, the gym, whatever may come with that HOA association and community. But you do pay that, and that is something that differs from a resale that you do pay that's associated with the HOA. Let me see. Did anybody give me a kitchen deck? Okay. Finishes, premium finishes. Okay. All right. I said somebody say deck. So, something to know about a deck. I advise people sometimes do not get the deck. And the reason why is because when you sit down at the design studio, the deck sometimes is very overpriced. So I do advise people, hey, if you can manage to pay it out yourself and not pay interest over something that honestly sometimes is almost double the cost, why not? So I do sometimes with decks tell, hey, let's look at how much this deck is going to cost, because sometimes you can get that deck for half that price that they're telling you in the design studio. So that one, I can be a little iffy on. But finishes, yes. I do tell people with certain finishes, certain finishes, yes, certain finishes, no. Because certain finishes, they do come at a higher premium when you're sitting down with them. And these are things you can do after the fact. So I'm big on telling people when we go into that design studio, let's focus on what is structural and what is going to return on value. If we go in there and we say, I want crown molding everywhere, that's beautiful, but it doesn't have a return on value generally. But if you're saying, hey, I need an in-law suite, that extra bedroom is going to bring value. And structurally, you may have to go ahead and say yes to that. So when you go in a design studio, you want to consider those things of what's of value, what may be like cosmetic, and hey, I can do that down the line. And also analyzing what am I paying a huge premium for that I can just hold off and wait on. You know, hey, it's the end of summer. I can just build my deck when next summer comes. You know, I can just build that out for the next season. So you want to make sure you look at that and really make sure you're picking the right upgrades that'll make sense. Yes, double the cost. I found somebody who was doing the same type of deck, same type of material, and they were charging about double to go ahead and put that deck on prior to them closing. So they had their deck put on after closing. So yes, you definitely want to review those upgrades and those choices. Oh, the deferred water fee. Very important because I've heard a lot of people purchase and they do not know that this fee exists. So when you buy a new home, there is a deferred water fee. This is the fee that they that you pay annually. I've seen it range about $600 to $800. It's a one-time fee every year, and you pay it for them bringing the water, the plumbing system, the sewer line, all of that out to that community. So everybody generally pays this. They have the same timeline to pay it. Do note that it does not stick with you if you ever are to move. So if you are to sell that house, let's say it's a 20-year and you've been there 5, that next buyer then assumes that and they're paying the next 15 years. So that is something that you don't pay if you are to sell that home, but upon buying new, you would purchase that. I mean, you would be paying for that. All right. Let's see. Oh, I have a question. Can you get started with little money, no credits? So, this is more of a purchasing question. So, can you get started with little money, no credit? So, little money, I would say can work. And there are programs that can work if you don't exactly have a lot of credit. Now, no credit doesn't mean you have bad credit. Doesn't mean you have a great credit. But there are programs, I'm thinking of one in particular, NACA, where they don't exactly, credit is review, but it's not that big thing that's going to take you out of the game with them assisting you in financing a property. And they do take care of your closing costs and they take care of your down payment. You don't have a down payment and they take care of your closing costs. And I've actually had a buyer utilize NACA to buy a new build. And when she bought that new build, we actually negotiated and she actually had a property that overappraised. They had paid down her rate down to, I think, 4.5 at the time. So you can definitely combine that program with a new build. Now, that's very unique because a lot of times they say you must use our lender in order to get our incentives. So that's something important to note. With these incentives, they say, hey, you're going to use our preferred lenders. But there are unique circumstances where they will budge and allow you to use an outside lender and still give you some cash toward closing. So definitely possible. I always say it's a lot of programs out there and a lot of people will count themselves out. And there are programs that are there to assist them in making it to the finish line. So yes, there definitely are ways to get to purchase in your circumstance. All right. So strategic leverage points. It is funny. I actually had a conversation with this client today. So end of month, there are times that it is great to walk into a new build and negotiate. They have quotas just like everybody else. And when they get to the end of that quota, they want to satisfy whatever they were supposed to, however many numbers they were supposed to. So, in her circumstance, we got there, I think 2 weeks before their quota ended, and they had some spec homes. And so we actually negotiated a price point that left her, when she closes next month, she'll be the lowest purchase price of that property. So she'll walk in with equity and with incentives, with cash to close and all of that. But because they were at the end of their quota, they were very negotiable. So being at the end of the month or sometimes at the end of that quarter does give you a lot of options and they become very negotiable. So it's very important to keep up with their quotas to kind of know, that's something I'm aware of. So I do keep it in mind when I'm going to new builds, what time frame I'm going to know, hey, have you guys met your quota? How much are you selling? What do you have spec'd out? To know what deals you can broker. Inventory sitting, yes. So that same circumstance when they have those spec homes, they are a bit great. They are greatly negotiable sometimes, because they don't want to have days on market. You don't want to have a community where you don't see people moving in and out. There are homes that are sold, so they are definitely more negotiable on inventory that they've built up. Those spec homes, so it does increase your leverage and your negotiations and your fees and some of the things we can negotiate off the price, and while keeping the closing costs. Because a lot of times if they take off a big chunk off the price, they don't want to give that same closing amount. But I've had instances where they are like, hey, we definitely need to get lot 5A sold. So, hey, what will make your buyer, get to the table? So that inventory sitting is very important. And especially when you tie that into that end of the month or end of quota. Slower markets. So as the market shifts and news comes out and it affects buyer confidence, that's also a very smart time to shop. A lot of people let news, oh, I heard this and I heard that, stop them from shopping, when sometimes those are when the best deals are brokered because everybody else is nervous. Of course, the builder knows what's in the news and they're like, how are we going to offload this next row of 5 townhomes? And they become negotiable because of what the market is saying in the sense of what's being put out there news-wise. So sometimes those are great times to shop. And the people who manage to keep, toward their goal during that time generally end up on a better side of things. Because once things are all positive and everybody's all like, oh yeah, let's go buy, you are the person who has this home that's going to have value because you purchased when people were a little bit nervous. And then, of course, if those rates drop drastically, you're the person who also has value because you get to get that lower rate, but you had this great price because you leveraged it during that end of the month or that inventory sitting. So these combined can be really great and great in maximizing your value. So all in all, is it smart to buy in 2026? Is new construction smart in 2026? Having been at the table with new construction through the years, I would say this is a very great time. Those incentives are incentives that I have never seen this year, with them giving you buy downs on your rate, and rates that historically still are rare. I know a lot of times, like right now, we're like having this conversation about interest rates being so high, but they're still below the national average of 7. And so with them buying it down even lower and still giving you closing costs, it's great time to purchase new construction. And with the right strategy, of course, because you want to make sure that you aren't buying something that's overpriced. Are we going to run those comps and see, where we land price point wise? Because we could be getting a great deal, but are we paying too much for this property? We want to examine all that. So with strategy, of course, because if not, and we're unprepared, then it might not be smart. It's always smarter to go in with the facts and have somebody by your side to get you through that journey. Because once you sign those documents and you have sealed the deal, it is over from that point on. And whatever price you land at is that price. Now, the rate and all those things can change, but that price is that price. So it's important to go in with a strategy and knowing what you can negotiate. And also, it is a great time with new construction to purchase. So those are my thoughts. So do I have any more questions? I know we asked some during the presentation, so I'm interested if there are anything that you felt I missed that you had a question about, or if there's anything you want me to expound about that I may have missed, or that you just want some more information about. No questions? I did that great? Maybe. How do I get back on the camera? It's my first time using this one, guys. So let's see. Am I back? I think I'm back. I think I'm back on screen, guys. Am I? Oh, there I am. Okay. Let's see. So, I don't think we have many questions, but once again, there are a lot of incentives out there. So, if anybody's interested, please reach out. It is a great time to purchase new construction in so many different communities that are coming up in some areas that there are, they're breaking ground all across from anywhere from Waldorf to all the way up to Laurel in DC. There are so many new communities coming up. So definitely let's chat, let's take advantage. Let's see, what about transfer and recordation? So with transfer and recordation costs, they do make you pay for both of those. So yes, they give you a good amount of money. Just know some of that money is going towards something they would generally pay if they were a reseller or somebody selling a community. Yes, it's actually been there has actually been a surge of 55 and over communities being built recently. So there are definitely a lot of opportunities for those as well. You guys get some great homes, I will say. A lot of times I come across those properties, I'm like, oh, this is really nice. And then I look and I'm like, okay, I'm not there yet. So there are a lot of homes available for you all with good incentives as well that are new builds. Let's see. Any new builds without HOA? So there are ways to build property with no HOA. It's probably going to be a little bit more tricky because you're going to probably purchase that land along with the builder and build from ground up. It won't be in a development, let's say like a Westphalia or a Marlboro Ridge, or when you drive by and you see a sign that says new builds and they're building a community. It won't be probably in one of those. So it'll be one that you'll see a sign on a piece of land and they're like, hey, we can build a single family home. Usually you'll see Caruso. Caruso does a lot of those where you'll build from ground up on that land. Or there'll be certain communities, I know there's one in particular in Bowie where there are lots available. And once you purchase them, they have a lineup of builders that you can choose to build from ground up. But that's going to be a bit rare. Yes, I would say you should bring a agent with you whenever you go to a new build. Funny enough, Mid Atlantic has a sign that they used to put up in their new builds, and on the sign it said, "If your agent is not here your first meeting, they cannot receive cooperative compensation, and generally they can't further work with you." So it is important for them to be there that first meeting. Because they do have funny ways of making sure that they can keep an agent out. Because of course we know all the ins and outs, which puts them in a predicament to actually do some things they maybe didn't want to or they didn't want to pay. So definitely take an agent with you. If you have an agent, got a friend that's an agent, have an agent, take an agent with you. And I'll go with you. So hey, but definitely take an agent with you. I know some more questions. Oh, boom. Any new bills? I'm excited for. Any new bills I'm excited for? I am excited for the people at Westphalia to finally get their development. I will say that. Westphalia has been there for some time, and I think they're finally going to get their development. I try with buyers when we're looking at properties that say they're going to have a grocery and all that to see that they've signed on. Because sometimes in certain counties you'll see certain builders say like, oh, we have this coming, but you don't really see the true plan, or the plan isn't really in place, and you don't see the agreed upon vendors or stores that are coming that haven't signed on. So I think that was their predicament when they bought a while ago, and I think they're finally getting that development put there. But I am happy to see Mid Atlantic is building again. They should have some new builds in off of Exit 13. I'm liking. Let's see, what else am I? I'm always happy to see Mid Atlantic building. um, Developments. That's someone I can think of off the top of my head because they rarely build single family homes. So it's nice to see them building single family homes again in PG County at the rate that they are, but particularly that builder. Let's see. Yes, we do buy and sell transactions and VA loans. I love a VA loan at a new build because we just wipe out your fees at close. I love to see that. Oh yes, we didn't pay nothing to get this house, dang near. So I love a VA loan. But yes, we do buy and sell, yes, transactions and new builds. Let me say that because I know we were talking about new builds. New builds do they will now that is a contingency they will add. I do have somebody under contract right now with a new build, and we do have a sale contingency in that contract. So you can do it for sale, and you can do it by a new build with VA and have that sale contingency to give you time to sell that property. All right, Sade, I'm happy you hopped on. Let's see. All right. We have any more questions before we hop off, and you guys call us to get these new bills started for you all? Okay. All right. Well, I thank you guys for joining me today for our new build seminar. We will have a seminar very soon for multi-units to explain house hacking, buying investment properties. So we look forward to sending you guys that information on that. That should be coming in a couple months down the line. We have a Muscati Memorial Day party coming, so we hope to see you there as well. As you know, if any of you were invited by any of my Muscati team, definitely reach out to us if you are interested in buying a new build or reselling, or if somebody asks for selling a property. I thank you for your time today, guys. I'll see you again very soon.